Hello, here is your HTML refresher. I have a folder on my Finder. I would, for this term, I would put all of your projects in one folder somewhere, DES342 or whatever you want to call it. I have one called Sites that I keep in my user directory. So I have this Sites folder and I've made a new folder called Web Refresher. Oh, look at me, I should have done an underscore. No spaces in folder names, right? Okay, so we are going to drag this onto Sublime to open it up. So now I have my whole folder in here. Whatever files I add will show up in here. So I want to first save my index.html file. You always want to start with index.html because you want to make sure that when you open your project in a browser that the browser is going to know that the index page is basically the home page. So web refresher. So I'm going to save index.html here. And then I'm using Emmet here. So if I do an exclamation point and then tab, it's going to give me this boilerplate HTML. It could be either that or sometimes it is HTML and then tab. Oops, come on, tab. This just gives me the HTML tag. So for me, the Emmet version I'm using, it's exclamation point tab. It gives me the whole HTML boilerplate. Okay, so I'm just going to save this and I'm going to open it in a browser. And as you can see, there's nothing there yet, but this says document. This is the title tag. So first I want to change the title tag just to my fantastic website. If I save that, I go back to my browser, there's my new title tag. A couple quick key commands on the Mac. If you do Command Tab, you can tab through all of your apps. Makes life a lot easier to just keep your browser open and just tab back and forth. Okay, so here is our index.html. If you didn't get the boilerplate HTML and if you don't have this view in browser, I'm going to go over that in class and I will probably have a couple videos for how to install the libraries that you need. Okay, so moving on, let's quickly talk about semantic tags. So you probably all remember that div is basically a divider, it's a box, and that with HTML5 they introduced a whole lot of other tags that are basically divs, but they're just called something different. So one of them, this is another Emmet trick that it's so hard for me to break my old habits, but if I just type in the name of the tag and then tab, it'll give me the beginning and ending tags. So there's the header tag, which is generally where you put the logo. Sometimes the navigation goes in it, sometimes it goes above it or below it. It's kind of up to you. You can kind of do what you want, but there's the nav tag. Then the main sort of content of your site can go in a tag called main. And then at the bottom, there's a footer tag. Inside of main, there's some tags you can use, like section is sort of like a broad section. Like, let's say you have a news site and you have like featured articles and then you have weather and I don't know, entertainment. Those could all be different sections, right? So maybe section inside of it would have 3 articles or something. So I could have some article tags. I'll just pretend I'm making a news site. Okay, so let's see. Those are the semantic tags. They really are exactly the same as a div. The only difference is that they just use a different word so that when you're looking at the page, you can kind of understand the structure of the page much easier than you could if all of these were just div. If this was like div, 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 it would be really hard to kind of tell where you were. Okay, so in the header, let's make an H1. And I'm just going to call this the best website ever is my, watch me typo. Okay, you only want to have one H1 in your whole, like per page. You never want to have like multiple H1s in the same page. But as far as the other headers go, you can have as many H2, H3, H4 as you like. So let's say I have an H2 for each article. And then, I don't know, article name, I'll just make them all generic and boring. So let's just take a look at what we've got so far. Get rid of that. Okay, beautiful. We're going to add CSS to the next one. I'm just kind of going through the basic HTML tags. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about is paragraphs. So if you have multiple paragraphs of text, you really want to separate them in paragraphs. Don't get into the habit of using break tags. So here's another Emmett trick. If you type in LOREM and then some number without a space next to it, like 40, and then you hit tab, it'll give you 40 words of lorem ipsum text. Excuse me. Okay, so let's say I have multiple paragraphs. I don't want to like just add a bunch of break tags, because for one, I can't really control how tall these break tags are. They'll basically be one line height, right? But let's say I want them to be 16 pixels, or I want to change the height. Like maybe on desktop, I want there to be a lot of space between paragraphs, but on mobile, I want to tighten that space up. If you use break tags, you won't be able to control that very easily. So if all of these are in paragraph tags, you have a lot more control. You can say, oh, okay, yeah, so in the article, if I have a class of whatever, I don't know, we'll call this one the feature article, I can really pinpoint, like, if it's the feature class and it's a paragraph, make the line height the margin bottom on the paragraph be 60 pixels on desktop. And then if I'm on mobile, I only want them to be like 16 pixels. So I'll be able to control that more. Okay, so I'll just fill in some more. Lorem 20. Yeah, never lorem 30. Oops, I hit return instead of tab. There we go. Okay, let's see our beautiful website now. Okay, looking great. And the default HTML has some margin bottom and top, I think. Oops, assigned to these. Okay. Paragraph. Excuse me. Let's add a link. So anchor tag, if I type in A and then tab, it gives me a starting anchor and a closing anchor tag. So I want to grab the last part, cut it, so Command X, and then, and this is on a Mac, so if it's a PC, it's Control X. But we'll just wrap that around these 3 words, and then some link. So, I don't know, http goo.com. Goo.com. There you go. There's our anchor tag. Let's add a image. So if I type img tab, it automatically gives me an alt tag, which is great. So remember, the image tag does not have a closing tag associated with it. You do not need, see, it won't even let me autofill. You do not need any slash for the image. And then there's a lot of placeholder sites that we found. There's one that's like, oh, Bill Murray, that's my favorite one. But I use place kitten a lot because I have it memorized and it's kittens. So I'll just do a placeholder image while I'm at it, so you can kind of see how most of the placeholder websites work. So I use the URL placekitten.com, and then to retrieve an image of the size I want, I can say, give me a width of 500 pixels, and then make it 360 pixels high. So it's always width and height. And then I'll just do an alt tag of kittens. So there's my image. Let's take a look at that. And then there's our link right there. So here's my kitten, 500 by 360. And let's see, what else? I'll do an unordered list, and then I'll stop this video and we can work on CSS. So there's multiple kinds of lists, but there's UL is kind of the most popular one. And what it is a UL tag, and then I'll close that UL. And then inside of the UL, you have a bunch of LI. So UL stands for unlisted item, and the LI stands for list item, or unordered list, and then LI stands for list item. So I can say item 1, item 2, item 3. So we've got a bullet list. There it is. I can change, if I change this to an OL, it becomes an ordered list. And then those will be numbered, 1, 2, 3. They'll automatically number themselves. You can even embed lists inside of lists. So let's say I have this list item, and inside this list item, I want to have a list. So I can leave the text there. I'll just make it an unordered list inside here. LI, and then I can say, I gotta make sure I close that. I'm having like, okay, closing that UL. There we go. 1, oh, I'm trying to type too fast and it's 2, 3, okay. So here we go. So I've got a numbered list, and then there's the text that I left, and then there is a sub list, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think that's kind of the basics I wanted to cover. Oh, the thing I didn't cover at all, let's get rid of this, is the structure of a page. So I'm just going to cut this out for a second so we can look at the main boilerplate that you're given. So the very first tag, this doc type HTML, this is the tag that tells the browser when the file is loaded into the browser. So the browser goes and fetches this index.html file. It sees that doc type HTML, and the browser goes, oh, okay, I'm reading, this must be an HTML document. And then the very first tag is this HTML tag, which is basically saying the HTML for this document lives between here and the closing HTML tag here. So everything in between here and here is HTML markup language, okay? The head of the document is sort of where you keep all of the invisible stuff, like links to style files, which I'll go in more detail in the next video, links to Google fonts. The name of the tab is here, so that title tag, which gives you this tab name, is there, but nothing that's in the actual browser, like this box. There's nothing. This is just the body. There's no, like, the head doesn't influence this box at all. It's just the sort of ephemera, things that need to be loaded into the page. Then the body tag is literally represented by the box of the browser. This box is the body. So anything visible on a page needs to go between this body and the closing body. There can be only one body. Otherwise, it would look like, it would be like split and weird. I mean, it doesn't work anyway, but it just would be impossible because it's just one, there's only one screen, one browser window per HTML document. So all our stuff goes in here. Oops. In here. Okay, so there's our stuff. And then there's the closing HTML. The rest is just HTML markup. It's kind of anything goes. Anything you want to put in here is good. Okay, I am shutting off this video. Woohoo! Thanks.